Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of Two Girls, One Doc.
One Doc.
It's your girl, BD.
It's Foreign's the fiance.
And we are back with another episode
Bazak.
of Two Girls, One Doc. I am, in fact, drinking today. Guess what I'm drinking? This one says she's not in a yawning mood. Look at her yawning like
Yeah, because you made me in a yawning mood.
Guess what I'm drinking?
I have no clue what you're drinking. Tell me.
Asti.
Moscato. Oh.
That's really been my bag of late.
I just know that your insides are begging for water.
I mean, it's so funny that you say that because the drinking of Asti does not negate the drinking of water. Like, two things can be true. I can be drinking water and also Asti. Like, I don't drink Asti at work, unfortunately.
Okay. Time will tell.
Okay.
Bowel movements will tell.
Okay. So, this documentary that we are doing today is called Catching a Predator. You can find it on BBC. I think also on YouTube. I don't know. BBC documentaries always seem to end up on YouTube, but yeah. And before we get into it, I'm going to just do a trigger warning of rape, sexual assault, attempted rape, just a man being trash, right?
Basically, every trigger warning that men produce.
Yeah, like, honestly, this man is really, really trash.
Trigger warning men.
Right, yeah.
Well,
I'll say man.
Banks.
This particular man. But yeah, so this documentary opens up with a phone call to the police. It's the 2nd of June, 2017. So this is fairly recent. Like, this was only 4 years ago. So we hear the phone call, but the person's voice is distorted. He's basically saying that last night he thinks a guy took him to his house and he didn't want to go. He suspects that this guy put something in his drink, but he's not sure. He can't prove this. And he feels like he was at his house for most of the night and this guy attempted to rape him. And he's still there at the time that he's making this phone call. And this happened in Manchester on Montana House, which is on Princess Street. And I mentioned this at the end of the last episode, that it's based in Manchester. For anyone who's new here, I went to uni in Manchester. Love that city. Great memories, great vibes.
It made me think of you and one other person.
Yeah, we don't speak of the other person, so it made you think of me. But yeah, so it was like, Manchester is like my favourite city. Love it. Honestly, great memories there. And it's just weird, like this documentary, that these bad things are happening in a place that you're so fond of. And even like Princess Street, like anyone who went uni in Manchester is like, has been on Princess Street before. Do you know what I mean? It's very like, oh mate, like these things were actually happening in places that you have been to and are aware of. I mean, I don't think I was in any danger because I'm definitely not his type, but you know. Yeah.
I just sang a bit of Thames. I think you missed it.
You did what?
I sang a bit of Thames. Like, I think you missed it.
Oh, I did definitely miss it. There's so many things that you say that I don't hear.
Are happening.
Oh, yeah, they sure are. Yeah. So this guy, the guy who called the police, is like, oh, I know it's a bit violent, but I've had to hit him a few times to stop him from attacking me. And I was like, yes, bitch, defend your motherfucking self. Like,
you better.
Literally, like, he beats him the fuck up. Like, he beats him to a pulp and leaves his house. Like, he leaves the flat. We actually see CCTV of this guy and the guy who gets beaten up going into the flat, like before the whole rape thing occurs. Mm-hmm. His face is blurred. You can't see him, but you can see the face of the other guy. And we also see, coincidentally, the CCTV of the ambulance, like carrying the guy out on the stretcher. And this whole thing is like a visual representation of like, you picked the wrong one. Like,
literally,
he's nearly unconscious when they find him. He's in a pool of his own blood. Like, we see pictures from the crime scene and there's a lot of blood. Like, there's blood, right?
Yeah.
So we meet this detective, and he's the only male detective that we meet, and I didn't actually get his name. I don't know if that was a subconscious, I hate men, but I didn't actually write down what his name was. Did you know his name?
No.
Okay, well, he's a cool guy. Like, he does his job, he does it well.
He's Mr. White Male. Yeah,
he reminds me of, I don't know if you watched Line of Duty, Steve Arnott. He's very Steve Arnott. Like, he is very Steve Arnott. Like, that's the vibe, yeah. And I think, what is it? Oh, I don't think it's based in Manchester, but like basically everywhere in Line of Duty, like people are from all over the UK.
It's a Line of Duty with the sexy guy from Game of Thrones. Am I mistaken?
I watched Game of Thrones like the first.
I know you didn't watch it, but maybe you would have known by somebody saying like, "Oh, it's the
I don't know. So this detective, I'm going to call him Steve Arnott, he tells us that they arrest the guy for assault. So the guy who called and beat up the other guy, they actually arrest him for assault. The accounts are conflicting. The guy's basically saying, listen, like, he was about to rape me, so I beat him up. And the other guy is beaten up. So it kind of looks like this guy's just been beaten up. And so because one is bloodied and one is not, like, I guess the one who was beaten up looks like a victim, right? And so, like, it's hard enough, we know this, it's hard enough to prove that you've been raped, let alone prove attempted rape. So we have a guy in hospital and we have a guy saying he was about to be raped. Like, how do you even begin to prove that? So Steve Arnott calls Manchester Royal Infirmary, which is the hospital that they've taken this guy to. And the people there are like, the nurses and stuff are like, yeah, like, he's alive or whatever, but he keeps asking about his phone, which is a very strange thing to do. Like, you are knocking at death's door and you are worried about your phone. Like, that's very, very strange. Like, do you know what I mean? You were attacked as an innocent man, supposedly, and all you want to know is, where is your phone? Like, that is very...
Where's my phone at?
Literally very strange behaviour. And this guy is very, very stupid because he tells them, like, the police and stuff to get the phone. And so then they get him the phone and then he's, like, trying to, like, take the phone from them when they ask for the PIN. Like, they're trying to get rid of the phone because now they're suspicious because they're like, why do you want your phone so bad? Obviously,
I feel like he shouldn't have asked. If he had never asked, he could have wiped his...
All of this stems down to... Anyway, we'll get into it later on, but this is a very stupid man, and I'm very happy that he's very stupid because, like, if not, who knows? Who knows? This story would have ended very differently. Yeah. It may not even have ended, to be fair. But, so yeah, he's trying to take the phone from them. Imagine you've been beaten to a pulp, you're in a hospital bed. The policeman is alive and well and trying to, like, take the phone, and you're trying to, like, wrestle the phone from the policeman. Like, can you even see where you're reaching for? Like,
make it make sense.
Make it make sense, honestly. So they look at his phone, they look at the Photos app, because the guy is basically, Steve Arnott is basically like, obviously, this guy has something to hide. If you have something to hide on your phone, where are we going to look? Like, your photos, clearly. That's where all the shit is, yeah? And so they see the last three, like, thumbnails are videos.
I watched about 5 seconds of the very last one, and that showed the bedroom at Montana House that I'd been in the previous day. It showed a male who was generally clothed, but had his trousers pulled down to around his ankles. Another male entered the frame and approached the male on the floor, and I recognised that as the person in front of me.
And this basically shows that, like, the guy who called the police was telling the truth, and the one who'd been taken to hospital was, like, the bad guy. And he even says, he's like, oh, I'm such a terrible person. It's like, yes, you fucking are a terrible person.
Yeah.
We find out that this guy...
scum of the earth. Said, you're the scum of the earth.
He literally is the scum of the earth, honestly. And we find out this guy is called Reynard Sinaga. Just some any guy. I tell you, like, very unassuming, a non-threatening looking man. Just some any guy.
I was literally thinking, like, he could, if I worked with him, I'd be like, oh, like, my gay best friend.
Yeah, he literally, like, if I was alone in the streets in the nighttime, in heels, right, in uncomfortable heels, and this guy approached me or was across the street, I don't think I would feel a way. Okay, cool, you just feel a certain kind of way because it's a man, but I wouldn't feel that's, I'm just like, I'm sure I could take him, like, honestly, like, he, and I guess, he... very unassuming. He's an Indonesian student from a wealthy background. He's lived in Manchester for 10 years. We meet another one of the detectives. Her name is Natalie McDonald. So she's interviewing him, and we hear the interview.
Just to remind you that you are under caution for an offence of rape. What can you tell me in relation to that offence?
I deny the allegation of the rape.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, you can deny all you like, sir, but, like, there's literally video evidence on your phone, so that you recorded, you know? They ask him about this particular incident, so with the guy that beat him up. We learned that this wasn't actually his first victim later on, but this is the first victim to us in the documentary.
Yeah.
We don't get anything about him, his name or nothing, so that's why we're just, like, referring to him like this. So Reynard Sinaga is saying that him and the guy met, and the guy suggested they go back to his house, and he puts his hand on his thigh. He's kind of like, you know, touching him. And he's like, oh, you know, some guys are gay, but they look straight, and some guys are curious. So he kind of thought that the guy was moving to him. And he's like, yeah, we did sex. which was very bore out of him, in my personal opinion. I was like, okay.
You make the sex.
You make this eggs. And
My brother Bolo. Break the cage.
what a time to be alive.
What a fucking time. I will never forget first watching that movie.
I watched it in the cinema, you know.
I make this cheese from the milk of my wife's teeth.
So he...
No, I just... Sorry. I just remember the bit when him and that guy were fighting and they were naked. Like, when it came on the screen, my mum screamed.
You watched it with your... No.
No, yeah, I watched it with my parents. My dad was like so pissed off by the time it finished. My mum... You know my mum can be a bit crude. We watched that naked fighting scene like 3 times.
That is so funny. It was just... The thing about Borat was like, it was just so ridiculous. Like, where do you even go from here? Like, you can't... Like, I don't even understand why people were mad at it, because it's like, clearly... This is just stupidity.
Nah.
Like, how can you be offended? Like, this...
By something so nonsense.
So stupid, nonsensical nonsense. Like, it's very ridiculous. Oh, I need to go back and watch more, actually. So, yeah, Reynard Sinaga is basically saying that they were both drunk. Basically saying that, like, they were in the same state. They were both consenting and, like, a bit waved. And he wanted to record it to feel sensual. And then he's like, suddenly the guy wanted to leave. And so he takes Reynard Sinaga's phone, thinking it's his phone, and then starts beating him up. So that is the story, and he's sticking to it, right? He's basically playing the victim when he was, in fact, the rapist. Like, it's very, very, very strange. And you see the interview, and you see him talking, and you just want to slap him. You're just kind of like, can you shut the fuck up? Like, you're really wasting my time.
Dirty slap.
I don't know how the detectives, like, deal with
I don't know how
such.
to, because there's so many times I've watched these things and I'm like, I would definitely have slapped them.
Oh, yeah, a couple times, yeah. So the next talking head / detective we meet is called Dorothy Orr, and she works in the rape unit. She tells us that Sinaga's phone is submitted for forensic investigation, which can take ages, right? Separate to that, they find a lot of driving licenses and passports at his house that are not his, right? It's not as if they all have a picture of him and they're different names. No, they are not his. They are actual people who are not him. And again...
Imagine now you've lost your driver's license, so you have to go make another one.
It's just so... I literally was thinking that. I was like, rah, like... And also, your driving license has your address on it. Like, that's actually quite scary to think that your card is just there with your picture, your name, your date of birth, and where you live. Like... just somewhere.
Yeah, it's wild.
So I think all of us here who watch crime documentaries can ascertain that he's keeping these things as trophies. And it's like, why would you need a trophy if a crime has not yet been committed? Like, you know? So what Dorothy's really telling us is that they saw evidence that there were possibly other victims, but because they could only hold Sinaga for 24 hours after arresting him, they had to focus on gathering evidence against him for this one particular offence, so which is the one we first spoke about with the guy that beat him up. Mm-hmm. So the detectives believe that Sinaga drugged this guy, and we find out this guy's only 18 years old, and then we find out that 18 years old that he is 16 years younger than Sinaga. So Sinaga is 34 at this time. That he is raping an 18-year-old. That wasn't quick maths. I actually calculated before I wrote it down.
I can't lie. Sinaga is looking good for his age.
Yeah, I mean, he's 34.
He looks very young.
Yeah, but how... I mean, saying he looks young and saying he looks good for his age are two different things. Like, at 34, how old do you... Like, how old are you supposed to look? Do you know what I mean?
Excuse me. Are you thinking about all the demographics here? Because I always base it on that demographic.
I'm saying you can look bad for your age. That's for sure. But as a 34-year-old, how do you look good for you? It's like saying you look good for a 10-year-old. Like, you're supposed to look young at 34.
Because the general demographic in this country, they don't look that way at 34.
Yeah, they look bad.
He does look good. He does look good for his age.
He looks good relative to the average 34-year-old here, is what you're saying.
Which is good for his age.
I don't know. I mean,
obviously, if he goes back to Indonesia, then he probably just looks like an average 34-year-old. But relative to those around him,
maybe that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's relative to. I just don't think a 34-year-old, obviously demographically speaking, it's gonna look bad.
Either way, he looks 18.
He looks young. Is basically what I would say. I would say that he looks 18. Young. I mean, but he's not 18, and so he doesn't have the mind of an 18-year-old. So him being 34,
no, of course not. But he could pass for like a first-year student in my eyes. He looks young. Yeah. And he has like a
childish, boyish way about
like
him.
A lot of his pictures are very like Bebo.
Yeah, literally like have a hotel. Like
I had this flashback to like when I was like 15, 16 on MSN, and like this guy convinced us he was like Chris Brown, and like I really believed it. Like literally, it's actually every day.
Everybody had one of those things.
You never had what?
I said everybody had one of those things. Like, there was one girl I know that I was friends with, and she literally said to us that she was dating this guy, yeah, and she showed us the picture, and it was Lil Romeo. I'm not lying to you. It was Lil Romeo, and we literally were like, no, this is Lil Romeo. Like, this is actually Lil Romeo. And she was like, no,
this reminds me of Catfish.
He's my boyfriend.
The woman was sure she was dating Bow Wow.
But that was recent though, as in that was too recent for it to have been like.
Somebody tweeted and they were like, the annoying thing about Catfish is they don't even be doing like anything spectacular to uncover the truth. It's just like Google reverse image. Like, you can really do this.
Yeah, and you could have saved yourself the embarrassment.
Girl, I was sure I was talking to Chris Brown. He was like, yeah, when because you know he had that Take You Down concert.
Yeah.
So he was like, oh yeah,
Take
like,
You Down times, you know.
Fam, because that's the last time he was in the UK performing. He was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get you tickets. Say tickets? I'm gonna get you tickets backstage. We can finally meet. Like, everything I've ever dreamt of. And then I was like to him, oh, like the tickets never came. He was like, oh, just buy a normal ticket. And then
But you know what is so funny to me about these people? Like, what do you gain from doing this? Like, what do you actually
Fam, we're never meeting. So what do you fucking gain?
Then what do
there
you
was
actually
one
gain?
time, like, after I've discovered that obviously that wasn't fucking Chris Brown. Then there was another time I was talking to someone else and he was like, yeah, I'm Chris Brown's cousin. And then, like, sometimes we'd be typing and, like, messaging. And then he'd be like, oh, I'm going to get Chris Brown to come and talk to you. And then, like, Chris Brown would come and, like, message. And I don't know what I thought was happening because it wasn't even FaceTime. So it was just, like, the same person.
Is that just somebody typing in red instead? Or what was it?
No, I'm so sorry, but sometimes I just think it's a miracle that, like, I'm still alive because the amount of nonsense I fell for.
Honestly.
No.
I don't know how you're still here, but we thank God. We really do.
Thank God. His mercies.
So how did we get here? Sinaga, yeah, he looks mad young. Yeah, and he does give that kind of
Bieber
people, like,
represent.
he poses like, you know, and he just has like the spiky hair and it's like, you know, I don't know, it's just
like he would have had Britney Spears as his song on MySpace.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the kind of gay he is.
Yeah, exactly. So the guy, the 18-year-old guy, he can't really recall much. He just, you know, remembers that he passed out, which makes sense because, like, all of a sudden there's a blackout. So it makes sense that he was spiked, right? So they show Sinaga the video of him raping this, I mean, almost child, right? And he's crying. Sinaga is crying, saying, no, he's awake. Look, you can see him. He's moved there. Like, and the detectives... The detectives are like, no,
like,
he's moving because you're raping him, and that's the movement. Like, he's not moving out of his own volition or his own accord.
But I genuinely do feel that, like, Sinaga doesn't believe he raped these people.
Yeah.
I do actually believe that he doesn't think he did. Like, I think he doesn't believe what he did, like, was wrong. That's why he had that reaction.
Yeah. I think he thinks that, like, it's fine. I mean, I think that he definitely knows that he did something wrong. Because there's a difference between, like, I don't know, he was very active in the... Okay, we'll get into everything and we can discuss this more later.
Yeah.
So it's really sad for this victim, the 18-year-old guy. He doesn't actually think he's been raped because, you know, he calls the police and he says, you know, I think he was about to rape me, right? But then the videos on Sinaga's phone actually show that he has been raped at least 3 times during that evening. And so, like, Natalie kind of has to tell him, like, what's happened. And it's just so sad because it's just kind of like,
Would you, if it was you, God forbid, would you want to know? No.
And
I
we get into that. They do
either.
discuss that later, but no, I wouldn't want to know. I think ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
But they charge Sinaga with rape on the 5th of June. So this is 3 days after he gets beaten up. I'm sure that he's still bruised and battered and stuff, and I'm glad. I hope he can still taste blood in his mouth. I just love how quickly this was addressed and dealt with.
Did you see him in the, like, Mickey Mouse shirt?
I don't know what's wrong with him.
Like,
part of me
it's
is
so
like,
weird.
So sometimes, but then part of me is like, oh, like, you know, maybe he's just a bit childish or underdeveloped or something. But no, he's been a student for like 10 years. He's done a master's and he's doing
a fucking PhD.
He's not a stupid man. Do you know what I mean? Like, they arrest him and they realise, okay, do you know what? Like, we've actually unearthed something quite huge here. Like, yeah, cool, we've got him on this charge, but, like, there is more to this. This is like the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah.
That ruined the Titanic. So they find memory cards. They find hard drive.
Jack.
It's so funny because I've never seen it, but hey.
Oh my God.
We can watch it when you
know, I
come.
didn't want to say anything because I keep like forgetting if it's the Dreamgirls or Titanic you haven't watched.
It's Titanic.
So, yeah,
I've
okay, we'll
seen
watch
Dreamgirls.
Titanic when you come. When
Yeah,
I
we can watch
come.
Titanic when you come, yeah. So there's loads of like phones, like mobile phones, like hella mobile phones. And we find out there's this unsolved rape that's been reported the April before Sinaga was arrested. So Sinaga's arrested in June. This this rape is reported in April, and a colleague had been working on it. I think there were like similarities, so they kind of brought her in to kind of, investigate it and stuff. And I think it's good to point out here that this is why I feel like it's good to report things like from harassment to assault, not because they always investigate things as they should, which is obviously unfortunate, but because sometimes like you having reported something can help to buttress a future case, a past case, a current case, where it kind of just like is another nail in the coffin for an abuser. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's easier said than done. I know not everybody feels like they want to report. There's any point reporting, but there's so many times you see a case and it's like one person who reported something ages ago or recently for a case, helped a case ages ago or a more recent case, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So the next detective that we meet, and I only started clocking that they had their DCI, DS and stuff at this point. So this lady is DS Kimberly Hames Evans.
But I don't know, this case kind of reinforces how I feel about British police, because it's like they never solve anything unless it's like landed in their lap with all the evidence.
Yeah,
that's just how I feel. Like, not that Americans are better than us or anything, but if it was in America, like they would have connected the dots and done this and done that. Like this one is like, oh, like the case literally just landed in their lab with the file open and all the evidence there. I feel like if this hadn't happened, they never would have caught this guy.
Yeah, I think so too. I it's not even that yet. I think that even if this had happened and he'd been beaten up and everything, if he had not been so antsy with his phone, I don't think they would have found anything. Oh, because it's just he said. Like there's no what are you gonna say? And one person has been beaten to a pulp.
Literally, all they do is drink tea, go to the cafe, and like I don't know what else they do, but that's it. Like, fucking hell, mate.
So Kimberly, she tells us that men reporting rape is very rare. This is basically her first male rape case. Basically.
Yeah.
So this guy, the second guy that we are discussing now, he was on a bar on Princess Street, and he wakes up in a place he doesn't know. He can't remember how he got there. And I don't know if you've ever been this drunk before, where like you are somewhere.
I was talking about it with my colleague today.
Yeah, huh?
And I was talking about it with my colleague. Like I've only ever been blackout drunk once.
Same. And funny enough, for me, it was in Manchester. It was actually very strange because, like, I was out and like it was a great time, and I was there, I was with it, and I remember leaving the club. I remember getting in the car, and then there was blackout, and then I remember getting out the car, and then I wake up and I'm in my bed, and then I wake up and I'm in my bed and I'm just like, oh my goodness, where are my house keys? I was so concerned that I had lost my house keys. Yeah. But then I was like, obviously you're in your house, sis. Like, you use your keys to get inside your house, so your keys are here somewhere. Like, and then I was okay.
Were you with Bestie?
What? Oh, no. Oh, this was so... Yeah, so I was like, we'd gone out that night and like I literally woke up in my bed and I was just like, how? Even eyelash, I didn't remove. Normally, like, I'm a very good drunk. Like, I never get drunk. I'm always very aware of my surroundings. I'm always very aware of where my belongings are. And, like, I always take out my contact lenses and take off my eyelashes. Like, my contacts are coming out. Do you know what I mean? No matter how drunk I am. But that night, like, literally, I woke up, my eyelash was just... I couldn't even recover them. They were so bad.
No, mine was my 25th. And please, if you're listening to this and you attended, feel free to, like, fill in any of the gaps. All I remember was like...
Was this one at your house? I don't remember you being that drunk.
Oh, do you not remember my speech?
No. Maybe I was drunk.
Oh my God. Yeah, you probably were drunk or something. I even remember like they were playing like Truth or Dare, and somebody said something about like a threesome, and I was like, yeah, I'm down. And then that Uncle K guy had to like pull me to the corner, and he was like, hey, behave yourself. No, okay, all I remember at my 25th was there were just like these spots of like I remember Lipson being on the stairs.
Oh, I remember that.
Lipson standing in the hallway, and then I woke up in my bed. And I also remember waking up and thinking, because like my house, we we have like an alarm. We lock our door like when we like. There are a lot of like nightly things we do to like shut down. And I remember waking up and being like, oh my gosh, what if I left the door open? I'm sure they've come in and robbed us blind, blah blah. But obviously, like my wife, Abena, took good care of the house that day. She shut everything, locked up everything, and it was fine. That's when I was like, yeah, I always knew I had good friends, but I was like, I have really, really good friends, because I left my friends here with guests, and I probably went upstairs. I had no clue how I didn't
even realize when you disappeared, you know.
You were probably drunk.
Yeah, that's true. Look at me trying to act like I was chaperone.
Fam, that you were sober, like, oh yeah, like, yeah, you were with it. Probably went somewhere to sleep first one round.
It's true. One thing I will do is sleep.
Sleep.
How did we get here? So basically, like, yeah, he literally was so drunk that he blacked out, and then he wakes up in this place that he doesn't know, but then he starts to have flashbacks, and he remembers being anally penetrated, right?
Oh, that's horrible.
Flashbacks, like, it must be such a mind fuck, because it's like, did this happen? Like, why? Like, because it's not like it's a dream. It's like, I don't know if you ever had like flashbacks before where you're kind of just like, did this? Oh, okay, right. So
I literally like those flashbacks are shit, because it was even after the list came out, then I realized that I was drunk and I was like once sexually assaulted, but at the time I didn't even clock.
Yeah,
like I was getting flashbacks, but I was like, oh,
what? Like 1 + 1 does not equal 2.
Yeah. Then
definitely
when the list
one
came out and some people were like telling their stories, I was like, oh no, yeah, that was actually sexual assault. Like, that's fucking crazy.
It's wild. It's like retrospectively, you're like, fuck, and then you're like, oh, can I even feel this way? Am I even allowed to feel this way? Because especially because like it was a friend, so like it's a very grey area for me, because I'm like, obviously I know what it was wrong, but I'm like, oh, like, I don't know, man, it's weird, but yeah, it's crazy. Strange, very strange times. But he's kind of like, you know, okay, I'm getting flashbacks, this is strange. And so they take some of his clothing and they test it forensically, right? And so this is how the cases kind of collide, because they basically say to Kim, like, this sounds very similar to another case, so we're going to fast track the results. And so it made me just think, okay, so if it wasn't very similar to another case, then when would the results have come out?
They would have been eaten in the calf, black pudding. I know what the order would have been: 2 sausages, black pudding, grilled
beans
tomato,
on toast,
baked beans, 2 fried eggs. Like, they can fuck off. Oh, and fried bread.
Sunny side up.
They can fuck off with this shit, man.
So the results come back positive. So Sinaga's DNA is found on the inner part of the underwear of the second victim. And there's like, the only way that it would get there would be with sexual contact. And we know there has not been consensual sexual contact, because this guy, even if he had consented, he was not conscious, so he was not able to consent. So now we have
you lie.
Right, you lied to me. So now we have 2 confirmed victims, but they know that there are more. And during this documentary, which I love, like, it's such a great documentary, like, we get these like time cards which kind of show us the investigation day, and like how many confirmed victims there are. So right now it's investigation day 4 and there are 16 confirmed victims, which is wild.
Wild, yeah.
That is more than a football team. So there are so many videos, right? So many videos. And this, Natalie tells us,
working in the sexual offences unit, you get lots of reports of rapes, but seldom do you ever actually see one happen in front of your own eyes. You're always trying to figure out whether it did happen or whether it didn't. In this case, it definitely did happen, and we were watching them all play out in front of us as well.
And it's just like, I don't know what they pay these people to do, but it's not enough.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. It's not enough. It's just not enough. Yeah.
It can never be enough.
It can never
to
be
watch,
enough.
Like, yeah. No.
Honestly, they find over 3 terabytes of pictures and videos in, Sinaga's possession. And so we meet DCI Zahir Ali, and I really like him because he's like, so that didn't mean anything to me, so I had to ask the tech team, and they basically said that it's 1 terabyte is over 250,000 photos, so basically 250 DVDs, and Sinaga had 3 terabytes, so what, 750,000 photos, maybe less than that in some videos, but that is wild.
That's obscene.
What, of rapes and of victims.
Obscene.
Like all three of those terabytes, yeah, represent the sadistic things that you have done.
Nature.
Is that not wild? Like how much do you need to remember? Like, do you even have the time to go through all of these images that you've taken?
Yes. I think it's just more about like violating the victims further.
I just like it. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. You're just like, how can someone be so sick? Very wild. Like, this documentary was actually disgusting. Not the documentary. The documentary was great. This guy. So he's been doing this for years. Like, it started in 2007. It's like he came to Manchester to do this. Like, do we even know what his history is in Indonesia and why they sent him all the way here? Because he's been there for 10 years. This case basically came to light in 2017, and he started in 2007 on a Nokia with like some photos, grainy videos. And then 2014 comes along, he gets an iPhone and starts to record more things. Before the iPhone, he has like 15 to 20 victims a year, so maybe averaging one and a bit a month. And then the iPhone comes out and it gets up to 60 victims every year.
I wonder what it was about the iPhone.
It's because he has better videos. You can take videos and stuff.
Oh, I guess he was probably still offending at the same rate. It's just now he has better.
And there's no proof. And like the videos you can take on a Nokia, the photos you can take on a Nokia are shit. Like, do you even know what it is that you're even looking at, kind of thing?
You really don't know what you're looking at. It's just a colour palette.
Literally.
There's no definition.
At all. So then he gets an iPhone and he can take better videos and stuff. That's probably when the terabytes started racking up. Because good Lord knows you can't save anything on a Nokia. So in 2017, he's arrested in June and there's like hella victims. We get another time card. So it's investigation day 22. And at this point, there are 83 confirmed victims. Wild. So Kim is telling us how they had to travel all over the country and even overseas to basically visit the victims. Like, they have to identify them from the videos and also from the pictures that he saved and like the passports and ID cards and stuff like that, and then basically visit them. And some of them didn't even know that they had been assaulted. And she's saying how it was a really strange position for them to be in, because usually people are coming to them to say, look, this is what's happened to me, I've been raped. But now she's going to people to say, look, like, you've been raped. Majority of the victims are working age. Most of them are straight. Some of them were gay. And the thing they have in common is they can all remember the night, because it was just a weird night. It was strange. Like, they may not necessarily remember the specifics, but there's always a blackout, and then they remember waking up the next day.
With some man they don't remember.
Sometimes they would say, like, when they would mention Sinaga or like his name or whatever, or I guess maybe see a picture of him, I don't know, but they would say, oh, like, you know, he took care of me when I was drunk, and I remember him, like, you know, he just kind of was trying to make sure I was okay. And so Dorothy says,
and at that point you sit there and you're going to tell them what somebody has done to them, that somebody has raped them. Now, chances are their life is not going to be the same again, ever. Ever, ever, ever. And you do have to think, would I want to know? Are you better off not knowing? Are you better off just, you know, going through the rest of your life not knowing?
Are you better off going through life not knowing? And like, we kind of touched on this earlier. Like, I'm going to be so honest with you. Like, I would rather not know. I would really rather not know.
Yeah, same.
The only thing I think is that, like, say, for example, you are having flashbacks where you kind of, like, think, like, oh, that was weird. Like, what the hell was that? Like, maybe knowing kind of, it's like you can't
helps
gaslight
you feel
yourself.
Like you're not crazy.
Yeah, it makes you kind of think, like, okay, so this actually happened. And then you can heal and move on from that, because it's not to say that knowing you're a victim of rape or being a victim of rape means your life is over. Like, it actually doesn't mean that. It just means that you kind of have to work to, I guess, heal through that or deal with that. But yeah, like, I don't know, like, having your job being to go and tell someone, living their life, moved on from it, maybe doesn't even remember the night, you know, unless it's brought up that they've actually been a victim of rape. And then they can't even just say like, oh no, you've got the wrong person, that's not me, because then they'll turn around and say, well, actually, there's a video of it, so it definitely happened. Like, do you know what I mean? It's such a fucked situation. So we go from Manchester to Hastings, where we meet probably my favourite person in this documentary. His name is Daniel. He was born in London and he moved to Hastings when he was 16. He hates it because obviously he's not London. And also he's gay, and he's like, people weren't as accepting of him being gay in Hastings as they were in London. So he moves to Manchester, which again, even more of an upgrade, and describes it as a mini London, which is exactly how I described it. Like, when I was living there, I was like, it's London, it's smaller, it's cheaper, and it's better vibes. Like, literally, Manchester has my heart forever. So they go out for his birthday, and this just makes me so sad that they literally go out for his birthday. Like, that means there is literally a stamp on when this happened to you. Like, obviously, there always will be, but every time it's your birthday, you know that this time, however many years ago, this thing happens to you, which is just so, like... So they go out, they drink a lot, which is, like, standard. They're going out. We're British, we're alcoholics, right? And it's accepted. But God forbid you smoke weed. So they drink a lot, they go out, they go to a friend's house, they're drinking there, and then they kind of leave. And Daniel's waiting for a cab. He's with his boyfriend. They're waiting for a cab, and he needs to go to the toilet. So he just goes to, like, an alleyway and pees. And, like, that's the last thing he remembers. The last thing he remembers is him going to the alleyway and peeing, and that's it. And we see CCTV, actually, of, like, Sinaga, like, kind of, like, walking around and stuff, because we find out he literally stalks these men. Like, where he lives is on that busy street, Princess Street, where there's loads of bars and clubs and stuff, and he kind of just, like, looks for what they call the stragglers, or, like, you know, drunks who maybe have lost their friends, or, like, someone's gone for a smoke. And
this is so alien to me. How do you lose your friends drunk?
Right.
Like, this is so wild.
Yeah, but
this
you're
is
thinking
why
as a woman.
Yeah, I guess.
Guys, like, they just, I mean, and this is the thing, like, if this documentary teaches you nothing else, it's like, men are dangerous to men as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when we're talking about, oh yeah, men are so dangerous, men are trash, whatever, like, cool, maybe we overdo it sometimes, but, like, they're actually a danger to each other as well as to ourselves. So, like, take care of each other, man, honestly, and also hold each other to account. But I don't think, what's his name, Sinaga even had friends to hold him to account, so that one is a whole nother story. But yeah,
I mean, we get into that a bit later,
right? So he would see people and basically, like, you know, pretend to help them. You know, like, he doesn't look like a threat at all, especially if you're a guy. Like, I'm a woman and this guy does not look threatening. So imagine more, like, how much more a guy. So again, we find out he's an eternal student. He's been studying since 2007, funded by rich parents. As we said before, he did a master's and he's doing a PhD. And he's moving like Lynn from Girlfriends, like, literally just, like, studying.
Eternal student, I told you.
Yeah, you don't want to come and do job. You want to just study.
Bruh.
Okay,
cool. If it's me, I'd be like, it's enough. You've read enough.
That's what I think. I think that maybe his parents saw some deviance or some nonsense with him and were like, you know what? That's it, off you go and just be somewhere else and study. Don't come and disgrace the family name. And they can afford to pay international fees for 10 years.
Yeah.
International fees for 10 years.
That's crazy.
That's crazy rich Asians, boy. So we're back with Daniel and he's telling us how he wakes up on a couch. He's fully dressed, but he feels groggy. He's like, he thinks it's a hangover, but, like, it's not the same, right? He can't really remember anything and he feels a bit weird. And then he sees feet walking around and it's kind of like, oh God, like, what happened last night? Who is this? You know, what's going on? And when the person leaves the room, he basically grabs his stuff and runs out the door. So he's really concerned with what his boyfriend's going to think because, like, when you look at the situation, they're waiting for a cab.
It's mad.
He's gone missing. He can't remember anything. How do I even begin to explain what's going on?
But I do think it's peak that the boyfriend was like, oh, like, yeah, you've cheated. Like, even if you're going to cheat, you're not going to, like, it's not going to be that vibe. Like, obviously something, like, happened to him. Or I'd be more concerned with, where did you sleep? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, but to be fair, the way he says it, like, his boyfriend was kind of worried. He was kind of like, whoa, like, where were you, kind of thing. And then, like, you see he's alive and he's okay. And then you're like, okay, did you cheat on me? But it's like, how could he have cheated? You literally were waiting for a cab together. He went to pee.
That's what
so
I'm
was
saying.
He going to do a quickie in the alley and then come back? And then what?
Fam,
it doesn't
is that the setup to cheat?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But then, obviously, he knows he hasn't cheated because he's not that guy. But, like, he can't explain where he was. Like, I cannot even tell you where I've been missing for this long. Like, I can see why it seems suspect, but boy, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. So Daniel doesn't want to report it to the police. He feels dumb and he's blaming himself. And again, like, guys, it's never your fault. Like, it's never your fault. It's the fault of the people doing the bad thing. Do you know what I mean? People aren't reporting because it's kind of like, what do I say? Hey, I went out, I got drunk, I blacked out, I don't know what happened. Like,
okay, and it happens to, like, once or twice a week to everyone. Like,
literally.
Yeah, whatever, yeah.
So Kim is saying that female victims are far more likely to report something like this than men, which makes a lot of sense because female victims are more likely to experience something like this. And I guess there's more chance that they will be sympathized with than maybe men would be. So Daniel does eventually tell the police. And he says that he could see that the detective recognized him when she said, like, you know what I mean? When you meet someone and they look at you like they know you. And we know now that that's because of the video. And Daniel, like, oh, God bless his little con socks. Like, he's crying. He's in the interview, he's crying as he tells us this. Like, it's really, really sad.
Yeah.
Like, they show them photos of him and he's kind of like, oh, no, I don't think that's me, actually. And then he sees one where you can see his tattoos. And it's like, okay, it's really sad because you're seeing yourself in this position. And even though you don't remember it happening, you know that it happened. And you now have that memory of it happening because of the photo. And he says to us, like,
it's just horrible to see yourself that vulnerable on photos that someone else has taken, and you know, and you can see, like, I'm comatose. Like, it's horrible to see. I look dead.
Like, that is so... Because just imagine it being you, like, seeing, like... It's like, you know, even when you're, like, waved and stuff, and, like, people have videos of you, like, your friends have videos of you and stuff, you don't remember...
And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you don't even remember doing, like, oh, hey, I'm so gassed, da, da, da. And in a good vibe, don't even remember the fact that you were, like, out here twerking, yeah? Imagine that, but, like, morbid, worse, sad.
Yeah.
And it's like you just see yourself
Looking
being
dead,
violated.
Yeah.
It's so sad that my heart really breaks for Daniel. Like, I don't know if you guys listened to the last episode when we played the trailer. It's his voice that you heard in the trailer, saying that, you know, people were saying to him, like, you know, it's good if you do the documentary and everything, but you shouldn't show your face. And he was like, no, like, I'm going to show my face because people are, you know, there's this negative stigma around being a victim of rape and stuff. And, like, especially as a man, and it's like, it's not your fault. And I think people have this view that, like, because they mentioned earlier that, you know, most of the victims were straight and some of them were gay. They have this stigma that, like, oh, because he's gay, like, it's not as bad him being raped as, you know, if a straight man were raped. Which I think is such a fucking stupid concept, because as a straight woman, if you are raped by a man, it doesn't make it any better. Like, you're still violated, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Daniel, man, honestly. Like, but I'm also so proud of him at the same time. Like, I
think it was, I mean, I can't say it was the right thing to show his face because that's like a personal decision.
Yeah, exactly.
It wouldn't have been the wrong thing to not, but it's strength, and it's amazing that he came out and said that, and hopefully encourages, like, other victims, even not just of Sinaga, but of other people to come forward, because there's no stigma. Like, it's not your fault.
Not your
so
fault. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Literally, it's not your fault. So it's investigation day 58, and there are, guys, guess how many confirmed victims there are? I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. So last time it was day 22, there were 83 confirmed victims, right? Now it's day 58, and there are, drum roll, 112, oh, sorry, my bad, 112 confirmed victims. Do you know how mad that is?
That's crazy. This is why he didn't want to work. He wanted to be doing student, because in between lectures, this was his plan.
Fam.
No way you could be working and be up to these shenanigans.
Impossible. Impossicant. 112.
Fam.
So one of the talking heads, who is called Lisa Waters, she works at the Sexual Assault Referral Centre. She makes a pretty good point.
The trauma that the men experienced wasn't necessarily the sexual assault, because they couldn't remember that. It was being visited by the police and being told what had happened to them, and also being told that there's video footage of you being assaulted, and that was really difficult for people to accept.
It's kind of like, like, there's so many layers to...
It's like raping them twice.
Right. That's proper sad. So Sinaga goes on trial on the 1st of June 2018, which is nearly a year to the date that the 18-year-old victim rightfully beat him up, right? So now we meet Ian Simeon, who is a prosecutor. And he's a prosecutor, so he has to watch all these rape videos. And so he kind of tells us that there are, when Sinaga's raping, because that's what it is, there are like shots of him filming himself as he rapes people, and then what Ian describes as like close-ups of the rape itself, right? So Ian says, he had to be convicted for what he'd done. I cared about the result, like I really did care. And I get that, but it also made me think, Ian, so do you normally not care about the results of your cases?
Like, it's just women.
Or what is it?
Right.
Is it that you normally don't care? Or is it that men are being raped here and so now you feel that you are...
Some sort of compassion, or because you see yourself in the victim?
Because I was like...
He was just all round, like, something about him did not rub me the right way. Like, he gave me really smelly vibes.
Off. So off. Honestly, I literally was just like...
Yeah. He had a lot of makeup on as well.
Yeah, very off. And I've watched this twice and I had the same visceral reaction to this guy. I was just like, there's just something my spirit doesn't take.
I can imagine the kind of guy he is. And I don't like it.
So we learned that Sinaga would find his victims on Facebook. So not that he would find them on Facebook to rape them, but after raping them, he would search them on Facebook and save photos of them, even while they were unconscious in his flat. And then he would tell his friends abroad about these relationships, and he's one of those guys that tries to brag about turning straight men gay, which I think is very, very stupid, because if a man is attracted to you and sleeping with you, then at the very least he's bisexual. So you're not turning him anyhow, like literally.
He might just be bisexual and not explored his...
Exactly.
So
or he's gay and he
it.
just wasn't ready to come out yet. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you didn't have the power to now take a straight guy and make him gay. Like, who do you think you are, mate? Like
these men think their dicks are golden. I don't know.
Honestly. But even in any case, whether they were gay, straight, bisexual, whatever, this was rape. So... no one even consented to anything with you. So you come to tell your friends that, this is a relationship or you did this, this and this is very, very ridiculous. And he's saying stuff like, oh yeah, he was straight until we woke up naked. Sorry.
Okay.
Sort it out, bruv.
What?
Like, sort it out, love. Very ridiculous. So now it's investigation day 365. So we've been at this for a year now. And there are 183 confirmed victims. This is insane. Like, this is actually insane. I was watching the documentary, like, what's the fuck?
What is going on?
Not 183 charges, 183 individual victims.
Like, it's even like, how did he get away with this for so long?
How did he find the time? Was he not handling assignments?
Meeting one deadline here and there just to get by.
And where was he getting the... Anyway... So they charged Sinaga with 159 counts of rape and other sexual offences. And when they said this, I said, I love this song. Like, this is the largest number against a single defendant in British criminal history. 48 victims agreed to give evidence in court. And because there are so many victims, they have to spread the case across 4 trials. And he pleads not guilty to every charge, which, I mean... fair. I mean, as a strategy, why not? Because if you plead guilty, then you're definitely going down. If you plead not guilty, then they have to now find evidence. There's a possibility.
Over, Jackie.
Yeah, there's a possibility that you could be set free, especially in this godforsaken land. So so they do this thing I didn't know was possible, but they call a blanket ban on reporting until the 4th trial, like, I guess to control the media.
Oh yeah, I didn't know.
And I'm like, okay, well, if you could do that, why don't they do that more often? But okay.
Quite literally.
Right. So Sinaga's defense is that they all agreed to come to his house. They all agreed to have sex with him and lie still and make no sound because that was his fantasy. And he talks about like 50 Shades of Grey. And he's kind of like, yeah, but just because it's not normal to you doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Which is like, that would make sense if you're talking about swinging or bondage or like some other kind of kink. But like, at the end of the day, this is rape, okay? And rape is a crime. Okay, so it's kind of like, you can't come and try and act like, oh, just because it's not normal to you doesn't mean it's not normal. Rape is not normal. It's not normal.
And it's still illegal and the other person's not consenting. So this isn't about what's normal. It's about, bro, what you're doing is...
all your fantasy is wrong and criminal, honestly. I just thought, because this was a jury trial and I was just like, imagine being on the jury for this. Like, imagine having to watch all of that. I get
an interesting case if I'm ever asked. I said, I hope I get an interesting case if I'm ever asked.
Yeah, I've never been called for jury duty.
My mum said she had, but I don't know how I can't remember how she said she dodged, but she dodged.
Yeah, I've never been. So now we get into what he's drugging them with, which I was really interested in, because it's like, mate, like how? And because honestly, if this guy was doing this without drugs, there is no way. You see how the other guy whooped his ass, bruv?
He would have been beaten.
The other guy flogged him.
He would have been dead.
He would have been dead.
They would have flogged him tirelessly.
He would have been dead. Like, honestly,
buried.
This guy's not about it at all. So there must be drugs involved, yeah. So they conclude that what he's drugging them with is GHB, which is clear, it's tasteless, it's odorless, and it worked within 15 minutes, and it renders you motionless. It's hard to know it's there unless you get a sample when they've had the drug, because it leaves the system within 8 hours, which is like the amount of time you're asleep for. And it's crazy because I'm like, how did he get this? And then I thought, oh, maybe whatever he's been doing his degrees in, maybe it's like a science kind of thing. But this nigga studying geography. I'm like, they ain't got no GHB in geography lecture rooms.
But like, you can buy Spanish fly on Amazon.
No.
Yes, I don't know what I was looking for the other day. Not the other day, it was a while ago. And then it came up. Like, you can buy Spanish fly, so what more?
Stop it.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. But yeah.
I don't want to buy Spanish, please, to the FBI agent.
I just wanted to show you that it was possible.
To the FBI agent listening to this. I
mean, they can tell from our conversation now. Yeah.
Well. But yeah, so they reckon it's GHB, right? So they find this audio recording of Sinaga with the victim. So essentially, yeah, they have to prove that Sinaga is actually drugging these guys and there is no consent, and, you know, they have actually been raped. That's what the prosecutor has to prove. So they find these audio recordings of Sinaga with the victim, and they're like just, you know, doing small talk. And Kim is like, it's so wild because you can literally hear over the length of the recording how this guy is just falls off, basically. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, she says, like, you know, he goes from talking to you as I'm talking to you now to just like slurring his words and then just stop speaking. And Ian tells us that it's the absence of consent or even talk about sex in these recordings that is vital and proves that he's lying.
Like, Ian said to me weird because he was like, there's no conversation about are you gay? Like, and I'm like, what the fuck does are you gay have to do with consent? Like, it was just an unnecessary comment. Like,
yeah, I think yeah, that guy, yeah. But it literally just basically, like, in the conversations, yeah, he's basically just talking to he's talking to the victims, like, about just nonsense, like small talk, like, oh, so what course are you doing? How are you finding uni? Blah, blah, blah. Basically until they like pass out, and then he rapes them. So what the audio recording doesn't show is them. There's no flirting. There's no, oh, hey, like, I'm down to do this, or like, oh, let's do this, or like, not even kissing, nothing. There's nothing sexual on the thing. So how can you then turn around and say that, yeah,
you consented?
Exactly. So he gets jailed for life with 30 years minimum. He's found guilty on all 159 charges. Amen. So we're nearing the end of the documentary now, and one of the reporters is saying that as women, the threat of rape is always there. Like, you're out late, you clock someone behind you, like, in your mind you're thinking, okay, this guy could actually like try and rape me or whatever. But men don't really have that, and that's why people still can't believe this even happened to the extent that it did. And that's probably why it even happened to the extent that it did, because, like, guys, you're not looking over your shoulder kind of thinking, oh, you know, this could happen to me. So on-screen text tells us they extend his minimum sentence from 30 years to 40 years, which I love. I think that's amazing.
I love that song.
I love that for us. And so the doc ends with Daniel and his dad fishing, right? And it's just really cute. Like, he's really nervous to tell his dad not because he thought that the dad would be angry or anything, but he thought that it'd really break his heart, which, I mean, it would break my heart if that happened to my child.
It'll break any parent's heart.
Honestly. Yeah. And so he says that his dad's response was amazing, and, you know, he talks to his dad about everything and how he had counselling, but speaking to his dad just really helped him. And his dad is just so cute. Like, he's just so lovely. And so the last thing we see is on-screen text, which says, within 3 days of Reynard Sinaga's conviction being made public, the police received over 150 calls and a further 26 victims were identified. Officers believe at least 60 victims are yet to come forward. And I hope that for every further victim, they added more years, because honestly, like, this man, like, when we say prolific, yeah, this man is a prolific rapist. Mm-hmm. It's so crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd never heard of that case before, but...
and it's fairly recent. What do you think about the documentary?
Yeah, it was very shocking, but again, it just shows that, like, if a few things hadn't happened, they wouldn't have caught him, and he would still be in these streets.
Literally. And how many hundreds more people would be Yeah, guys, it's a really good documentary.
Yeah.
I would really recommend watching it. Like, everything was relevant.
Yeah, I think you should.
And it made a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
and everything in it was necessary.
Literally, everything was necessary. That's why this is a longer
Netflix, take
episode.
note.
No shade, but shade. Honestly. But yeah, so now it's time for
The real crime, I think, was the beard.
our segment where we focus on something during the documentary that may not be criminal, but we definitely consider to be a crime. Do you want to go first, or should I go first?
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
So, what was his name? Ian what?
Simpkin. That was mine as well, actually. His name is
Yeah, he was wearing a lot of makeup.
Ian Simeon.
He was wearing a hell of a lot of makeup, contoured to the gods. That was the crime. Like, why are you wearing all this makeup? Why are your lips so paper thin?
Mine was also...
So there were 2 crimes.
My 2 crimes. 3, actually, because mine was also Ian. And like I said, like, he's a prosecutor, fine, but he really needs to work on, like, what he's saying. So the first one that I mentioned earlier was him being like, you know, he really cared about the result, and I'm like, okay, do you not normally care about the result of your rape cases? And then he also said like, oh yeah, you know, I've worked serious rape cases before, and I'm like, which rape case is not serious, please? Which one is not serious?
Yeah, it was just a little bit of rape.
Legit, I was like,
Slight rape.
This guy, like, I just, yeah, it's so funny how he was it for both of us. But yeah, that's 3 strikes and he's out.
Who is OUT?
But yeah, man, what are we doing next? I know. Look at your eyes, man. So you wanted to do the Stacey Dooley homeless documentary. So I typed in Stacey Dooley homeless documentary and I found Homeless in Detroit. Is that the one?
Can we just say we're doing a Stacey Dooley documentary, but we will revert as to what? There'll be a trailer.
But is it not the homeless one?
I don't know if that's the one Kingsley wants us to do.
Okay, ask Kingsley, because he needs to really sort it out, because you won't stop harassing us about this Stacey Dooley documentary.
I will ask.
Okay. Well, once we find out from Kingsley, we will insert trailer here. In the meantime,
a long ass day. I'm tired.
Between time, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok at 2 Girls 1 Doc. On TikTok, it's 2 Girls 1 Doc podcast. Hopefully, actually, we'll have some content on there because we're meeting up. So that'd be great.
Soon. Guys, you know where to find me.
I haven't finished. You can email us 2girls1doc@gmail.com. Send us your reviews, your requests, any documentaries you think we would enjoy. I would love some requests, because, you know, sometimes it just be hard trying to find what it is to talk about, you know.
That's true.
We can find Forens on Instagram and Twitter, Forens with 2 underscores, and also on her other podcast, Character Replay. But yeah,
good.
the trailer will be did you do nails? Are these acrylics?
Yeah,
These are the shortest I've ever seen your nails before.
No, they were shorter than this before.
Were they?
Yeah.
What is this on the edge? So what did they paint the edge? They paint it?
Yeah, it's like French tip.
So how long does it take to do then?
It took quite a long time. Well, not like a long time.
But longer
it just
than
took
normal.
Longer than normal.
Do you know when I went to do my nails, some girl was drying her nails with the air dryer.
Bam! That's why I tweeted that tweet. A girl was drying her nails, and I wanted to say to her, do you not have any self-respect?
It's not even self-respect. I just think to myself, do you not have anything to do? Like, are you jobless? Because why are you sacrificing this time to dry?
That's part of the self-respect, because if you respected your own time, you wouldn't be doing that.
That's so wild.
In this day and age. And like, back in the day, there's no time I ever left after drying my nails that they didn't smudge. They always smudge.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? Yeah. What are you doing?
I literally saw it. I was just like, I even meant to message you that time when I was taking the picture of my nails. I meant to say like, wow, this woman was really sitting under the dryer.
There's always one, you know, because they still have.
She wasn't even wearing a mask, so I could see her face. One. You're not embarrassed. You should have covered your face.
There's always one.
Very strange behaviour. But anyway, that's it then for today, isn't it?
All right then. It's been real.
It's been
Toodles.
Real. Bye.
Life itself is stressful as it is. I call life a schizophrenic being, you know, because it's ups and it's downs.
Everybody keep telling me God got a plan, but
why do I have to go through the shit I go through?
If you're homeless in Detroit, you've a higher risk of dying on the streets than in any other city in the United States.
I cried many nights. Like, what am I going to do?
I'm not ready to die, so you do what you have to do to survive.
Homeless people here are surviving in a city that's seen more than its fair share of troubled times. Over the last 50 years, Detroit has gone from being one of the richest cities in the US to being the largest to ever declare bankruptcy, with debts of over $18 billion. The sheer scale of the city's decay means there are now around 70,000 abandoned buildings, and Detroit is struggling to support its population.
Oh my God. Hold on. Neighborhood don't even look the same.
Services are being pushed to the limit to help the almost 20,000 homeless people living here. I've arrived during the coldest winter the city has seen for over 20 years to meet the young people living on the streets, to see where they live.
Wow, this is like a proper family home.
We're back, girls. Move back.
Oh my God.
And what they do to survive.
Hey, baby. Oh, he's really trying to date? Yeah, don't come over.
This is crazy.
We take this every night.